Hello everyone, ex-Bethelite here, and we're all familiar with the recent Kingdom Hall fires in Washington. However, Jehovah's Witnesses have been interviewed on the news stations have been talking about it, and believe it or not, I saw a video with someone who is no longer a Jehovah's Witness. They were kind of a off and on type member, and people are feeling sorry for Jehovah's Witnesses. Jehovah's Witnesses are pulling the victim card to get public sympathy. Now, in general, most ex-Jehovah's Witnesses do not condone arson in any way, shape, or form. I can say probably 99.9% of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses do not condone arson. They're not encouraging arson. However, while ex-Jehovah's Witnesses aren't encouraging arson, Jehovah's Witnesses can't claim the victim card. The cult cannot now, after victimizing people for years, for over 100 years, this cult has been victimizing people. And now, after a few halls are burned down, all of a sudden they're a victim? No. This is still the same cult that destroys families, destroys lives. Kingdom halls have been burnt down, but they are far from victims. Jehovah's Witnesses, they ain't no victims. They're the predators. Ask the children who've been molested, and their molester was allowed to go from hall to hall molesting other children. Ask the children who have been molested whether or not these predators are victims, because a few empty buildings burned down. More than empty buildings need to be burned down before this cult can claim victimhood. If you're religious and it was up to God, God would have burned them all down. You can't claim victimhood when what happens to you is essentially reaping what you sow. The same Bible that Jehovah's Witnesses claim to follow, it tells you that you reap what you sow. It tells you that you know a tree by its fruits. And people say, uninformed people, look at this situation. They see the kingdom halls being burned down. They say, oh, why would anyone do that? As a matter of fact, it was either ABC or NBC, one of the two news stations. They asked that question. Why would anyone burn down a kingdom hall? And then someone else is saying, Jehovah's Witnesses are nice people. Nice where? Nice how? Nice when? What nice? Jehovah's Witnesses are nice people. You hear individuals constantly saying that Jehovah's Witnesses are nice people. And when they say that, I wait and I pause and I wait. And normally someone says a statement and then they follow it up with some sort of proof or some sort of validation. So if a person says Jehovah's Witnesses in general are nice people, follow it up with how are they nice? Because they knock on your door? No, not necessarily because they knock on your door, because they have to knock on your door. Why are they nice? Well, I knew a few of them at work and they seemed nice, but they haven't spoken to their own children. They hadn't spoken to their own mother. Just because someone seems nice or looks nice doesn't mean that they are. In the preaching work, by and large, all Jehovah's Witnesses have to fill out time slips to report the time, whether they were out or whether they were not out. And if they were not out, they are subject to shunning. They're subject to the harsh, cruel, and extremist punishment that this extremist cult group, far from being a victim. No, all those poor Jehovah's Witnesses, a couple buildings got burned down. No, this is an extremist cult that forces people to put on a display of love or a display of kindness, or they act nice when you see them at work because they're trying to convert you, or they seem nice when they knock on your door because they're trying to convert you. And they're out there knocking on your door because they have to report time to their elders. And if they do not report time to their elders, there is some sort of punishment by way of social treatment, social shunning. Even if a person isn't disfellowshipped, that doesn't mean that they're not being shunned by the rest of the group. So it's not like it's one of those situations where halls are burning down and these are just poor church folk. No, this is a cult that has been involved in covering up child pedophilia. Just check the Australian Royal Commission. Look up Australian Royal Commission, where Australia had to sit them down and say, look, y'all have got pedophiles running all over the place and y'all aren't doing a thing to stop it. You've got the blood doctrine, where people who have no medical training whatsoever, people that have no theological training whatsoever, are looking at the Bible, misinterpreting it, and telling people not to take blood. Well, keep in mind, this isn't just adults making this decision. It's adults making this decision for their children. Children are dying because of this cult. Children are being molested because the cult doesn't do anything necessarily to stop children from being victimized. They teach everybody that everybody can be trusted in the Kingdom Hall. You trust everybody with your children. This is far from a helpless group of people just wanting to worship. These people, the cult of Jehovah's Witnesses, do not give people the freedom of religion, because the people that look at these halls burning down and want to feel sorry for them, they're thinking about, well, these people should be allowed to have, as they say in the news, their house of worship. Keep in mind, these Jehovah's Witnesses, the people that you're feeling sorry for, whose kingdom halls are burning down, these people refuse to allow their members the freedom to go worship where they want. If you want to go somewhere other than the Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall, the Jehovah's Witness building, they will try to make it so that your family will not speak to you, your children will not speak to you, your associates, people you've known, family, friends you've known for 20 plus years, will no longer speak to you if you feel you want to worship somewhere else. That should be your right, to have freedom of worship, to be able to worship without being bothered and being left alone, to be able to go and pick a church that you feel comfortable worshiping at, or worship at home, read your Bible at home, or get into other things, or just be a spiritual person. That should be your right as a U.S. citizen. So if Jehovah's Witnesses feel like they should have the right to worship at their facilities without them being burned down, which we still think Watchtower's burning down their own buildings because Watchtower's in financial trouble. Watchtower is selling off buildings because they're in financial trouble. Watchtower's got all kinds of sexual lawsuits millions of dollars in lawsuits that they're losing. Watchtower had layoffs at their headquarters, Bethelites. Watchtower sold. So you see Watchtower's trying to come off of these buildings. And it just so isn't it strange, the timing of these hall fires? Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have been telling people this is a cult for a long time. And now halls just so happen to be burning down right when Watchtower's in financial trouble. And if they receive insurance money for these halls, the authorities in Washington need to look into fraud, insurance fraud. They need to look into it, do an investigation. It's just strange that all of a sudden now that Watchtower is in financial trouble, Watchtower is losing membership. All of a sudden now something happens and Watchtower is trying to claim victim and get sympathy from everybody. Sympathy from the media, sympathy from the public at large. Make their members feel like they're being persecuted. The halls burning down kind of seems like it benefits Watchtower. They get, if they receive insurance for those halls, then that means they get money back from the insurance money from the hall being burnt down. The congregates will build them another hall. They can then sell it to receive double money. And they get all this sympathy and all these poor Jehovah's Witnesses, this poor cult, and all these bad activists out here trying to warn everyone, they're the ones at fault. See, this benefits Watchtower a little bit too much for the thinking person to not consider, can this cult, keep in mind this is a cult. Cults do crazy things. Can this cult be burning down their own buildings for sympathy, for insurance money, and to make their members feel like they're being persecuted? To make them feel like the end is right around the corner, to get them back coming to the Kingdom Hall by claiming victimhood. I would not put that past Watchtower. So the public needs to look at this as a cult. This is what it is. Watchtower is a cult. It does not give its members the freedom to leave. If you try to leave Watchtower, they will hold your family hostage. They'll tell them never to speak to you again. My stepsister, her father hadn't spoken to her in probably over a decade. I have proof. I'm not just here talking. My stepsister, my stepdad, her father, has not spoken to her in over a decade, and she just wants to worship. She wants to be able to worship God in the way she sees fit. She wants to be able to exercise her religious freedom. And because of that, Watchtower, Jehovah's Witnesses, this cult, took her father away. So that she hadn't heard from him, no calls, no emails, no anything for probably well over a decade. This is a cult, people. So, the media, random people that are saying Jehovah's Witnesses in general are just nice people. Keep in mind, they don't even visit their own members most of the time. Jehovah's Witnesses, you see them knocking on doors, but they don't even visit each other most of the time. People who are sick, they're not getting visits. People who are going through hard times, they're not getting visits. When I got back from Bethel and I was looking for a job and I had to work 7 days a week, the company that I worked for started me off working 4 days a week, 12 hours a day. And then because of things, they told me I had to work 7 days a week. So They weren't seeing me at the Kingdom Hall, and they weren't coming over to visit either. I just drop off the map. These aren't nice, kind, you know what I mean? And I'm talking relatives also. I wasn't hearing from relatives even. You know, outside of my mother and a few other people, a lot of relatives weren't even checking up. So when people say Jehovah's Witnesses in general are good people, they're nice people, they don't even know what they're talking about. They have no idea what they're talking about. No, they're not nice. They will let their children die if Watchtower tells them not to let them have blood. They will never speak to their own children again if Watchtower tells them, don't speak to your kids because we're disfellowshipping them. They won't pursue legal action against a pedophile if the elders tell them, we don't believe anything happened, so we're not going to report this. These aren't nice. Where do you see nice? Keep in mind, their doctrine for the longest time was that if you're not a Jehovah's Witness, if you're a Baptist, Catholic, Pentecostal, Buddhist, whatever all else, their teaching for the longest time is that God is going to kill everybody that's not a Jehovah's Witness, wipe them off, just be a bunch of dead bodies. Then Jehovah's Witnesses will then move into these dead people's homes, clean up the bodies, and there'll be nothing but Jehovah's Witnesses left. There's nothing nice about their doctrine. There's nothing nice about the people. Think about it. Are salesmen nice when they're trying to sell you something? Yes. When a salesman's trying to sell you something, they're nice. Does it mean it's a nice person? No. Are most Jehovah's Witnesses salesmen? Yes, they go to your door. They got magazines. You see them standing out next to these they're trying to get you to take them. They're trying to get you to convert. Once you convert, you may not even get a visit after that. Their job is done. Is that something a nice person does? No. Women who are getting beaten by elders in the hall, they go for help, tell the other elders, they tell them, you just need to be more submissive. Does that sound like something a nice person would say? No. In conclusion, the people in the general public that don't know a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses, the people who just studied and all they know about was how they were treated while these salesmen were trying to sell them on the religion. The people that weren't really in, these people don't know what they're talking about. They need to do research. They need to look into this cult. So Jehovah's Witnesses are not a victim. They've been destroying lives for over 100 years. A few halls burning down is nowhere. It's not even a fraction of the damage Watchtower has done to other people and their lives and their families. So do not feel sorry for Jehovah's Witnesses. Do not feel sorry for this cult that damages so many people and does so much to young children. People have committed suicide because of this cult. Don't feel sorry for it because a couple of empty buildings got burned down. They're empty buildings. They're not as valuable as the people Watchtower destroys. It's not as valuable. The empty building is not as valuable as the families that Watchtower has destroyed. Talking from personal experience. My stepsister hadn't spoken to her father and I can't remember when. 937-789-4029. We'll discuss it. Walk Hill Bethelite signing out.